Welcome back to Insidevoicespod podcast. We've been gone for a long time. We actually hit the lottery and we've been sailing all across Greece. It's not a big deal, but we wanted to come back and do our fan service for our guys.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking now about transgender people in the Olympics. Should it be allowed? Should it not be allowed? Why?
That's it.
Why not?
And yeah, should be allowed.
What do you think?
No.
Yes.
You think it should be
I think
allowed?
it should be a different category.
No, it
maybe.
should be in the your original. If you were born a guy, now you're a girl. You can compete, but it's gonna be with the guys. If you're a girl, and vice versa.
What do you think?
So you think they should compete by their sex, not their gender?
By whatever
does.
they were originally.
I don't agree with that.
I think. Okay, so what do you think?
I think that they should. It's hard because I think they should have their own category, I guess. But then it gets tricky if they're fully transitioned versus partially transitioned.
But
or
the problem with that is it depending on what you started as. If you started as a guy, you're gonna smoke a guy that started as a girl because they still have the male hormones and stuff. It's just they're blocking them.
Yeah, there's a weightlifter, I think, in Austria. This is why I thought of this. That he is now competing in the Women's Olympics for weightlifting.
And he destroyed them.
Well, we have to. It's she.
No.
It's a she now.
Well, and she destroyed them.
But this is the craziest part. So even before the Olympics began, like just before everything, this person has now smashed all the women's weightlifting records. She smashed all the weightlifting records.
That's the goat.
So just based off of that, it's too much, okay?
No, it's the goat.
I think that
That's the goat.
I think that if transgender people want to compete in Olympics, they need to have their own, like, you know how disabled individuals have their own Olympics, like the Paralympics? The transgender people have to have the same thing because
Hold on, though.
a man who transitions into a woman after puberty is 10 times stronger.
Hold on, though. Do you remember there was a guy, a transgender, went from a male to a female, and fought MMA and cracked the girl's skull.
Oh yeah.
Cracked the girl's skull.
It was in women's MMA, right?
Yeah, and she cracked the girl's skull.
Yeah, but the problem is that
it's just a goat. It's a coincidence.
if they are able to go through puberty fully, their testosterone levels are going to be so much higher than a normal woman's, and during that period of time, they're going to have built so much more mass in their bones and in just their bodies in general. And going specifically into this woman, the one who's competing in the weightlifting in the Olympics, she was a bodybuilder as a man.
That's a goat, man. She's just a goat, point blank.
So you're telling me that this person, after working and weightlifting and building up, probably taking steroids on top of having higher testosterone, now is the time to transition and go into women's Olympics?
Because she wasn't doing good enough in the guys.
I got the facts to set it straight.
Okay, set it straight, girl.
Okay, so there's guidelines allowing any transgender athlete to compete as a woman provided their testosterone levels are below 10, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but anomalies per liter for at least 12 months before their first competition. And
it still doesn't matter because if before that
they
time
can still
period,
maintain what they had prior to that.
That isn't enough time for them to lose everything they built during the period of high testosterone.
But if they get tested to be under a certain amount.
Okay, but
but that's just for that point.
Yeah,
but
that's to qualify to get in.
Their body, their muscular,
they're already
everything was built based on having 100.
It doesn't matter if you're like the highest whatever it is ever. If you've met the criteria, then you qualify.
Okay, I'm not talking about qualifying. I'm talking about it still isn't fair.
It'd be like taking. It'd be like if you went on steroids for the next 10 years and you got off a week or two months before your fight.
I would still be massive.
It says 12 months before the first competition.
Yeah, okay, so 12 months, but you'd piss clean.
It wouldn't matter.
But you just spent 10 years building up a built body.
My frame is still going to be so much
Look
more
Arnold
advanced.
Schwarzenegger and stuff. He would not be like that if he never took steroids.
Exactly,
right now.
and not only that, but people have.
Continue if you're the
on top of that, people have been screwing with test results like that for years and years and years. People have been taking massive amounts of steroids. Just look at Mr. Olympia and stuff like that, and they test negative.
Here's the thing, though. You can be a male and have certain things, deficiencies and stuff, where your testosterone level as a pure male, not a transgender,
Leo Messi.
Would be below 10, but you're still a male. You're still a male, and you have more than just. It's more than just testosterone. There's
a whole bunch of different things.
There's a bunch of stuff.
Men are built completely different from women. That's why if a woman works out in the gym,
that's why Lionel Messi didn't look like a female. He was still a male.
Yeah,
even
exactly.
With zero testosterone.
He's still, even with a little bit. Well, he also got hormone.
No,
therapy.
but I mean, prior to that, he was still a man.
Yeah, he still looked different than a woman.
He couldn't grow like tons of hair, body hair, but he was physically a man still, and one of the greatest soccer players.
But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what the qualifications are. If this is, you know why it doesn't matter? Because she's gonna go in just like she did all the records in Austria or whatever, and she's gonna win. She's gonna beat everyone by a landslide.
They should have their own category.
Yeah, exactly. They should have a transgender Olympics because it's literally impossible for them to balance the scales with. Because what happens?
But it doesn't need to be their own. It just goes by your sex. What you're born as is what you compete as.
Yeah, but then it's not fair because then the guys who are probably if you're competing in the Olympics, most likely are taking steroids. So now the woman or the man is now facing people who have an unfair disadvantage on, or have an advantage on them.
They have an unfair. If they're a male to female transition, they have an unfair advantage.
That's why you'll never see.
So you will never see its own class.
Yeah, it's too complicated.
And they've ruined that for them anyways because they've created. It's not just now. You're not just transitioning to male and female. There's 100,000.
Yeah, there's different variations.
So now you can't do that because they ruined that for you because it's not as simple as just we'll just make a different group.
Yeah,
because now they said there's 16,000. They said genders. Or something.
Okay, there's not 16,000.
That's what they said.
But more importantly, the reason I don't think an actual transgender league or whatever categorization couldn't work is because, if you transition before you're 9. You're not going to get the benefits of having testosterone and growing up as a man.
But if they first of all, it should be illegal for you to transition at 9.
Yeah, but it's not, and
But it 100% should be, because what happens if that guy now hits puberty, goes through it, and realizes, oh shit, I really messed up.
Well, that's a huge debacle. That's what people.
The statistics of that happening are very, very low.
Yeah.
But that's probably because they did it so young that their brains and stuff develop over.
I don't know.
You should not be going on that. You can't.
But anyway, we're talking.
Hold on, though. You can't take testosterone when you're. If I put you on HGH at 9 years old, how the public perception would be totally different. But it's no different than going on hormone blockers at 9.
I don't know. I don't know the science behind it.
Well,
anyway.
Can a 9-year-old sign his rights off? No.
They can now.
But they still can't.
Have to.
But anyway, we're on to the Olympics. I think that it's just way too complicated. It's like you're trying to balance something that is unbalanceable. There's way too many factors that go into determining if you can qualify or not.
It just teeters too much on the edge of discrimination.
What do you mean?
By saying no, you can't compete with your gender because.
But it's not gender based though. It's sex based in the Olympics.
It is sex based.
Yeah, I know, but if your gender is also female, then you're discriminating that you cannot compete with the females.
Yeah, but there's a fine line because every time people call that out, you can't just scream they're being mean.
This is the Olympics.
Yeah, this is the
competition
of the greatest athletes in the world. If we start allowing people to get in there who have been having way more testosterone, and the whole training experience is completely fucked because if I trained for 20 years to be the fastest runner in the world, or we'll use the weightlifting, to be the best weightlifter in the world, and I was a woman, and then some guy who's been training for 20 years as a man then transitions, does the whole 1-year qualification thing, and now he or she is now competing against me. It is completely unbalanced.
Here's the issue, though.
They will beat me.
Hold on, though. I can end this conversation really easily.
Go ahead.
Are you allowed to take steroids when you're in? If you went to the Olympics right now, you're a guy, whatever. Are you allowed to take steroids?
Absolutely not.
So you can't compete as a transgender athlete because if you're a male to female, you're taking estrogen. That's a steroid. If you're a female to male, you're taking testosterone. That's a steroid.
That's the problem too. The women who transition into men, the only way for them to be at the same level physically is if they took steroids.
No, but they do. They actively take hormone replacement therapy, which is testosterone. So you're technically not allowed to compete.
I think it's too much science. It's too difficult. There's a reason we don't let people with disabilities compete against people who don't have disabilities because it's not fair. And
but here's the thing, though. We talk about it, all this, not whatever. if you broke your leg and then came back from a broken leg, you can't go to the Paralympics, right? They don't. It's not. You're not discriminated against. It's just I'm not actually a para athlete. Yeah. I'm not a disabled athlete. I just broke my leg for a little bit, right? So, it's like this is the thing. The whole thing's ridiculous. This is the Olympics, highest level of competition on Earth. You're representing your country. Not everyone gets to go to the Olympics, so I mean it's completely your choice.
I think that if they're gonna start letting transgender ins, like, all right, whatever. If you want to do that. But you're now making it very hard for people to compete and judge completely on a fair basis, because it's just you're competing with a whole bunch of biological just differences. There's just too many biological differences. I know that people want to think that, okay, I transitioned into a woman or I transitioned to a man. I am now a man. I am now a woman. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, but it doesn't work like that because if you got off your hormone replacement therapy, you're immediately not. You start transitioning back.
Is that how it works?
Pardon?
If you get off your hormone therapy, do you start? What is it? Not. I don't know.
Yeah, they stay on HRT. You're on hormone replacement therapy
forever.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I think it depends on what age you start.
If you start before puberty, you probably don't have to. I don't know. But like most people, yeah, you're on it for the rest of your life because...
That's crazy.
It's like if you took something to stop DHT in your body for hair growth.
Definitely transition and you're already an adult, you definitely have to take some sort of blocker for...
Okay, well then, just based on that is no. That's too much.
Okay, well, this says...
Yeah, you gotta talk more into the mic. I think the volume's too loud.
There's some guidelines as of 2003 that athletes who transition from male to female or vice versa were required to have reassignment surgery followed by at least 2 years of hormone therapy in order to be eligible. Now, surgery is no longer required.
Oh,
you don't
so
need
now
to have
they're not
surgery?
even actual transgender. No, that's bullshit.
Oh,
then.
That's not fair.
Then you can just go as a girl. Yeah, if you go on HRT for a month to get off.
But this is only female to male.
Okay, that's the well. Who are they competing with though? Females still or males?
They're going to obviously be competing with males. They'll never win.
Well, no, but then that's fine. See, it's totally different because female to male, that's a disadvantage.
Now,
it is a huge
male to female transgender athletes will need to demonstrate that their testosterone level has been below a certain cut point for at least 2 or 1 year before.
No, that's just going to be 15 years.
Okay, this is the problem. First of all, if people are able to skew their drug results in terms of steroids and human growth hormone and stuff like that, I am 100% sure that if you give someone a year, they will consecutively be able to skew the results for their hormone levels. There's no way. There's no way that they're not going to figure out a way around that for the course of a year.
This is the thing, though. I don't understand how they're finding all these they're allowing all these things when, like, you can't even take Advil if you're an athlete without failing a drug test. Like you can take Advil, but there's certain things that there's so many like normal things that you take on a day-to-day basis you cannot
This is my thing about the Olympics. So when you're talking about the Olympics, you're not talking about just a bunch of guys in your neighborhood. You get them together, you get them to race each other. These people are they are performing at like 99 to 100% of their capacity. They are like the pinnacle of human performance. So if you have a guy who's sprinting against another guy and the other guy is 2 inches taller, that 2 inches is making a huge difference when you're competing against a shorter guy. So if you're talking to me about a man transitioning into a woman and competing against other women, you're taking that 2-inch advantage and you're making it so complicated that I don't even think it's possible to be able to gauge the difference.
This is the thing, though,
or the advantage rather.
But the thing is, it'll never be fair if you've been like, okay, your testosterone levels are lower for a year or two. It really doesn't matter, right? Usain Bolt, in 10 years after retirement, could transition to a girl and win the female sprinting because the levels are that far off. There's only a few. Sure. There's only a few things that are really close. Like tennis, the guys would still smoke the girls, but it's a lot closer. Like the female tennis players, they're very high level.
Yeah.
They say, well, I mean, I don't know. That Serena Williams faced like a low ranked male and lost, but it's still very high level compared to like sprinting is completely different. It's not even close. But that's just because they're not built like that.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about the sport and how it plays, I think weightlifting is the one thing that they should absolutely not allow.
No, because that's the biggest. If you talk about the biggest advantage a male has over a female is strength. That's just it is what it is.
So if you're competing in a sport that is a 100% strength,
it'd be like
it's impossible.
If flexibility was a sport in the Olympics and you went from being a female to a male, you're gonna smoke the males.
Well, I don't know. I don't really know how flexibility works.
Well, their ligaments and stuff, they have more flexibility naturally.
Okay. But yeah, like if they're doing things like, I don't know, like soccer or something like that, it's different because it's not
Soccer's
as
a skill-based sport.
Yeah, if you're hovering in a sport,
the level is still pretty far off, but it's more fair.
Yeah.
It's not like putting Messi on the field.
Yeah,
well,
you really need to have variations in requirements for different sports, because if the Olympic basketball team had a woman on it who is now a man, it's probably not going to be as bad as if you had a woman who transitioned into a man and is now facing other women in weightlifting.
Well, weightlifting, yeah, that's like the anomaly.
It's just too difficult.
That's why I said it goes on discrimination,
How is that discrimination?
I can't think of not discrimination. I can't think of the word.
There's a couple sports.
Like gray area,
Yeah, that's the problem. You can't have people competing in anything at that high level with any kind of gray area.
No, there can't be gray areas in the Olympics.
They can't not be gray.
But here's the thing: there's
exactly.
a few sports that there is no way a transgender athlete.
Chess.
Yeah, exactly. No, MMA, boxing.
Oh yeah, they can't.
That's
MMA
actually deadly. That's like I said, that transgender athlete went and cracked.
Well, have you ever seen a man hit a woman?
Yeah,
it's like the end of the world.
But that's what I mean.
That's why it's illegal to hit a woman.
But this is why there cannot be gray area, because you're going to end up getting someone killed in MMA or boxing.
Well, it's not even just getting someone killed. Like if I was an athlete who trained my whole entire life, literally from morning to day, for my entire life up until this point.
You didn't train that hard if you only train from morning to day. That's
and I lost to somebody who did the same thing but was a different sex before me and then transitioned into my whatever league or categorization or whatever. It's not fair to them. They will lose. I would love to see how this plays out, because I highly doubt that if any other woman is going to be able to outlift this other person.
No, because it's physically not going to happen. That's why she broke records.
There's just that's what I'm. She didn't break the record. The title of the article was she smashed the record.
Here's the thing though, nothing is stopping Brian Shaw from going on hormone replacement therapy, because you don't even have to get the surgery now, for a year or whatever it says, and going to the female Olympics.
Yeah, you know the Mountain from Game of Thrones? He's like 7 feet tall. He's like 500 pounds.
He's the world's strongest
If this guy transitioned for a year to qualify for the Olympics to go against other women, he would literally obliterate them. Mm-hmm. This is why this is why it can't happen.
And then it's just not fair, because then the problem is, if you have all this gray area, you're going to get people will literally transition just to win, because winning the Olympics is that big of a deal.
People take steroids just to have a six-pack in the summer.
Yeah.
You don't think that they're going to transition to get world recognition?
To win the Olympics, to become
to win the most competitive sporting event in the world? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but so is training for the Olympics.
People are dying at 40 because they're taking so massive of a dose of steroids for no reason other than to look good on the beach.
Yeah, but here's the thing. People
are doing it for no reason.
Here's the thing.
I would be very surprised if...
I wouldn't. To win the Olympics?
You have... How many people on this planet? 8 billion? You don't think there's going to be one person who transitions?
It may never happen. I'm just saying...
But it can happen.
Here's the thing. They're going to do it because you do this for a year, right? You win the Olympics. Now you get endorsements. You're worth 50... You win a gold medal at the Olympics, you're immediately worth 60, 70, 80 million. You guarantee yourself an income...
You can market like crazy.
You guarantee yourself an income of $50+ million a year for the rest of your life.
You don't think someone would transition to win the Olympics? I'm not talking about to win Manager of the Year at Walmart. I'm talking about to win the Olympics.
The biggest event on Earth that happens every 4 years.
Are you serious? You don't think
people
someone
would be transitioning?
I didn't say that I don't think they would. I said I'd be surprised.
People fake their own death.
There's people who make love to rides at theme parks.
Yeah.
You don't think there's going to be people who transition to win the Olympics?
People would
I don't think anyone would let them.
No, they would.
It's not about letting them.
You have to pass mental examinations.
No, you
well,
don't.
That's
yes,
greater.
you do.
To get into the Olympics?
No, to transition.
Oh, they'll still do.
They'll still. Money. You don't think you can find a doctor that will allow that and to take a piece of the pie?
I don't know.
For an Olympic
Trump became president of the United States of America.
Okay.
Trump became president of
No,
the
but
United
here's
States
the
of
thing,
America.
people do transition just for attention.
Oh, for sure.
It happens now because they get
Hollywood
so
is a
much
great place to see what people would do for
attention.
attention.
And this is
for
how
no
I know.
reason.
This is how I know people transition for attention because 10 years ago, how big of a topic was transgender? Anything?
Well, that's debatable because now they can say that it's more easy to transition. There's not as much public friction.
And acceptance.
So
Okay, yeah,
it's not easy to compare.
But
that
at 9 years old,
I don't know.
nobody at 9 years old 10 years ago was transitioning until they brought it up, and then people said, "Oh, maybe he wants to." Be
Yeah, but that's
or
one
something."
side of the argument. Other people who do gender studies and all
Okay,
that kind
but
of
then
stuff.
how come? Okay, the 9-year-old's doing it. How come we hear about them? If they wanted just to do it for not for attention,
Well,
you would never hear
people
about
do
it.
say that there is an agenda. The
The
LGBTQ.
LGBTQRSTVWXYZ.
They say that there's an agenda there. I mean, this is conspiracy theories. What is the time now?
Oh, we still have 5 minutes, probably.
But like, I mean, that's the topic I'm not willing to dive into. We're gonna get banned off of YouTube.
No, you're allowed talking about people.
You
Joe
really
Rogan
are.
talks about it. He says,
Yeah, but he's also worth a
he
couple
said,
$100 million.
he says that transgender athletes should, in absolutely zero circumstance, be able to
I
compete
agree.
in sports with that.
I mean, no, I
compete
only
with-
agree with that from male to female. If you want to be female to male, if you can somehow manage to
Well,
win that,
I don't know. I still don't agree with that because that's dangerous for them.
well, it is
If
dangerous
you
for
put a
them.
girl
But
on,
I'm saying in
on
terms
the
of just
basketball court with LeBron James,
yeah, but
it's
I'm
dangerous.
I'm just saying in a pure competition.
Well,
aspect.
I know, but I get what you're saying. It's like if there's age classes for gymnastics and you're 50 years old and you want to go into the under 25 class, yeah, you can do that.
Well,
Because
that's
of
actually
age.
a great point. When I used to compete in gymnastics, if you competed against someone who was a year ahead of you, just a year difference was so substantial
Astronomical difference
in their abilities. So when you're trying to compare like biological
now
markers
imagine
and
someone
stuff like
that for 20 years had 650 ng whatever it is of testosterone in his system.
well, like 6 times what
It'd be like, okay, if you transitioned at 25 years old from a guy to a female, it's like you were on steroids for 25 years.
literally, yeah. It's as if you were a woman on steroids.
And hold on though, it's not like you're just on steroids. You were on the absolute. It would be the
most
amount,
cutting edge steroids.
Yeah, it'd be like if a female took steroids for that long and actually and grew male sex organs and stuff.
Yeah.
That's how hard
You'd have to be the bleeding edge of all the shit you're taking.
in the maximum amount for 25 years. The thing is, you wouldn't survive that.
You would. It would be so dramatic for your body.
That's why it just can't happen.
It's just too. I think it's too complicated. It's too unclear. There's too many variables. And when you're talking about a competition like the Olympics, you cannot have variables like that. You cannot have gray areas.
They
like
say
that.
in sprinting, if you get the fastest kid at a local high school, they would not get last place at the Olympics. Like a guy, apparently that's how big the levels are between them.
Oh, you're talking about if he competed in
have
a
you ever been
female
out sprinted
race?
by a girl?
No,
That's how close has it ever been.
never.
Everything that I was reading just now, like earlier, said that the biggest issue is when it comes to human rights.
What is the issue
Like
there?
the right to compete and the right to like participate in your gendered category.
Yeah, but this is the problem. So okay,
You can't
but
have that in the Olympics.
you can't turn the Olympics into a
Here's the thing.
what is it called? Like a
show,
like a political
but
show.
here's the thing: it would take one female, like one female to male, or no, one male to female transition in Olympic level boxing. It would take one death for them to go. You know what?
Yeah.
We shouldn't have worried about human rights because this is a safety thing.
But
It's like
it would
hold
also
on.
only take one athlete to go in there and break the record so dramatically
I
that
know,
it wouldn't make any sense.
But here's the thing, though: it's the same thing in your workplace. Health and safety comes before. Health and safety is number one, and number two is human rights. But safety is always number one.
Yeah.
Safety is always number one. If you have the right to refuse unsafe work, and that does include harassment, but they investigate that stuff, and it's a way. There's more lenience towards that to what is harassment, but with the safety risk,
We got the HR department right
with,
here.
I've done so many of
Attention in
these.
those videos.
With safety risk or whatever, there's no. If something's unsafe, that's it. You don't have to do it. You're not allowed doing it. And your employer and stuff, they have to provide you with everything to do the job safely, right? So the Olympics is no different. Can you imagine the lawsuit if a male to female transition person killed or severely injured a lifelong female?
Yeah, it would be a big travesty.
That's a safety issue that they're allowing that person. It'd be like saying, okay, put Floyd Mayweather in there with Clarissa Shields.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea.
I think at the end of the day, people need to not turn everything into a political debate. When we're talking about the Olympics, we're talking about their guidelines and their procedures and their testing is so strict that I mean, they're testing your blood cell count. They're testing everything. Like, they're testing everything to make sure everything is as balanced as possible.
You can't
transition this into some kind of political debate. And if they want to talk about human rights and stuff like that, okay, they do have right to compete. So let's facilitate a level
Something
playing
fair.
field where it's fair.
Has to be fair.
And if that means they have to compete against other transgenders, then let them compete
If that means
against other
going
transgenders.
their original sex, but then that still is not allowed.
No,
because
that
if
won't
you're
be
a girl
fair,
to
though.
a guy, but then if you put in transgender, it'll never be fair. That's the thing. There will always be.
It'll always be unfair to them, and the problem is it can't be unfair in this particular setting
the next
because
topic's
it
gonna
breaks
be?
it.
The next topic that we're going to be talking about probably in a couple of years here is going to be. No, this is going to be the next topic.
Oh, I thought you meant on the podcast.
No, this is going to be the next topic that people are going to be talking about with the Olympics. Cancel the Olympics because they're not allowing transgender athletes and they're discriminating against people. They cancel the Olympics.
Well, they won't cancel it
No, they're going to want to cancel the Olympics because of this. Just like how they want to cancel everything that goes against their agenda. But the thing is, this is the Olympics.
Yeah.
There's certain things in life that don't actually have to be included.
I think that, there's a reason why a person in a wheelchair can't race in the Olympics against other sprinters. It doesn't make sense.
But here's the thing. They're discriminating against me for not allowing me in the Olympics because they don't think I'm a fast enough runner. I think I'm a fast enough runner. I should be allowed in the Olympics.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. Just because you want something to be true doesn't necessarily mean it can be true in every setting. I mean, if you want to believe something and you want to, and you do, you transition stuff, that's great. If you feel good about yourself, that's great. But when it comes to certain things in life, unfortunately, it's just not fair. Life is not 100% fair.
This is the thing, though. It's not discriminating if they're speaking the truth and I'm not. I am not fast enough to be in the Olympics. They're not discriminating against me due to any reason other than I'm not fast enough to be in the Olympics. That's just the truth. I would love to go in the Olympics in spring.
Just to be on camera.
Just to be on camera.
So at the end of the day,
I hang it up. No, but I'd probably do pretty good.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not saying I'd win.
So at the end of the day, I think
second.
that me personally, I think that if they want to facilitate transgenders in the Olympics, they need to really create a space where they can compete against each other and be fair. I think all it comes down to is it being fair.
Here's the thing,
safe.
And safe.
Here's the thing, though. If you have asthma and you're in the Olympics, do they let you compete with an oxygen tank on you? No, because that's cheating.
How is that cheating? An oxygen
You're not.
tank?
Yeah, you're not allowed. Because that's
It would
fucking.
weigh- it would-
Have you ever had pure oxygen? That's like taking steroids.
Anyway, we gotta wrap it up.
Well, we have another 4 minutes or 3 minutes.
No, we don't. It's done. 8:28. Anyway, thanks for watching the Inside Voices podcast. I hope you learned something today. Tell us what you think in the comments. I'd love to see what other people think. And we will see you
Unless
Friday.
you're a social justice warrior.
Anyway, see you later.